And now, it's that time of the week once again. Welcome to the Departure Lounge podcast with your hosts, Tom Whittle and Steve Wooldridge. Your ticket to the home of aviation podcasts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to episode number 65 of the Departure Lounge podcast here on the Departure Lounge YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well this evening. It's been a bit of a strange weekend, but we'll get into that shortly. However, hope you're all well. We'll get straight into tonight's show by introducing our team for tonight. So joining us this evening, as always, Steve Wooldridge, co-host of the show. Steve, very good evening to you. How are you?
Yep. Cheers, everyone. Doing well, thanks. Hope everyone at home is doing well. It's a shame that it's just a normal weekend. I kind of got used to these nice long weekends, but such is life. What about yourself? You all good?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. It's just been a bit of a strange weekend. Like I dedicated it to doing a lot of tidying, and just feels like it was a never-ending thing. So it was a bit strange, a bit stressful as well. Couldn't find certain things as well, but such is life. It's over now, so got another working week to look forward to, which would be nice.
Well, yeah, it's never looking forward to it. It's just something you have to do to get money to go and do something better. That's how I see going to work.
That's it. That's the one. We won't get rid of you. We'll keep you on the screen as we introduce for the evening. Ian Hartley, he's here as well. Ian, a very good evening to you. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How's your weekend been?
Not really been up too much, really. Just a bit of shopping, a lot of washing, a lot of bedding to do, and all just crud stuff, really, rubbish stuff. Yeah,
Rubbish stuff.
Absolutely no excitement in it whatsoever.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We all need exciting vibes.
Oh, sorry, mate. Steve sat there.
Yeah, evening Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, good. I had the excitement of a trip to Dunelm today. Other shops are available. Got me some new pillows. Absolutely buzzing for my sleep tonight.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, the shops are available. Probably not as good.
No, that's it.
Funny you should say, I got a new duvet from Dunelm today.
There we go. Did you get anything, Tom?
No.
Rubbish.
4.5 tog one as well, because it's getting a bit warmer, so I've done away with the winter duvet. But that's enough about that. Let's talk about planes.
Duvet and pillow talk.
Yup.
Yeah.
Not in that way either. Lovely stuff. Right, let's get into some housekeeping for this evening before we go into the main bulk of tonight's show. So we're on social medias. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, of course. So if you want to follow us on there, do check out the links in the description below. Also, we are rocking, well, 2/3 of us are rocking Pride t-shirts, which you can now buy seeing as it's Pride month this month for June. Steve's got it in the background. It's just probably, it's there. So we still say 2/3, but you can obviously still buy them throughout the entirety of June. I believe there's a discount as well. I think it's about 15% off, I think, possibly. Don't quote me on that. But check out the shop in the description below and have a look for yourselves. We have a Facebook group as well called the Departure Lounge community channel, where lots of us are in sharing photos and having. So I quite enjoy the group. It's nice to see lots of people posting their pictures and stuff. It's nice to see what people get up to as well. So if you fancy some of that, you can find that as well on Facebook. And of course, if you want to be a guest on the show at any point, do get in touch with us via the social medias, and we'll get you on as soon as we can. before we go ahead, we'll say some hellos to people in the chat. So, Ian, over to you.
Right, let me just scroll down the old chat thing.
Box of chat.
The box off chat. Well, let's say hello to Gail Leary tonight because she's actually modding for us tonight, and her name's popped up quite a lot there. So good evening to you, Gail. I hope you're well.
Good evening.
Good evening to Jack as well. Jack's here, and so Samuel Taylor Aykroyd. Good evening to Max Jet Live, VK Rana, Jack Rolls, Gail Leary, Visions International. So that'll be Ken. So good evening to you as well.
Good evening.
Rosie Minshall's just popped up there. So good evening to you, Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie, good evening to you.
Good evening to Sarah passed there, and the Qantas 787 dude. He's in the house too, and Martin Wooldridge, double COVID king. Has he got COVID again, Steve?
He has, and it's quite funny because he's got it from kissing girls. So unlucky.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good evening to everybody that is here.
Yeah. Quick good evening to Clive Everly as well, and to Rob Brown playing spotting as well. So yeah, excellent. Good evening to them too as well. So.
Excellent. Tonight we were supposed to have Jack on the show, but circumstances have changed that. So Jack will be with us next week. So we'll get a little shout out for Jack there this early on. But we are doing a live Q&A tonight where you can ask us quite literally anything. And I've put it out there to the point where you don't have to ask anything aviation related. It could quite literally be anything you wanted to. So we're literally taking the reins off the show and we're literally just giving you guys the opportunity to kind of get to know us a little bit more, quite literally about anything. So why not go for it? In the meantime, while we get the questions in, we will go through some topics that we want to sort of chat about. Steve, you've seen the comments, so do you want to read it?
My brother says it's a much better way of getting it than being coughed all over by some Burke on the train. Yeah, well, I'm only jealous that he's managing to get the occasional kiss in. So fair play. At least he's got a little medal of honour for doing it, I suppose.
That's it. Wonderful. Wonderful. So if you want to get to know us, do ask us anything in the chat. Literally all of it is available. Let's go for it. So we do have a question first from Rosie Minshall, who's asking about our favourite aircraft. Steve, you first.
Yeah, lovely. I'll give you both civil and military. Military, I absolutely love the Eurofighter. I think it's a phenomenal aircraft, and if you ever get a chance to go and see it at an air show, whatever, they are unbelievable. The noise and the kind of the skill and how nimble it is absolutely incredible, and it's well worth witnessing for yourselves. For civil aviation, it's be no surprise to know that I purposely went and flew on the A380. Absolutely adore it. I think it's a beautiful aircraft, and just the size of it, it's got no right really to be in the air. That said, the A350 is also another absolutely stunning aircraft. So yeah, I'd flick a coin between the 350 and the 380 for me.
Fantastic. Ian.
Well, I think a lot of people know my love for tornadoes, so it's a tornado every time for me, better than any Typhoon what's ever flown. These fancy modern military jets now, and even the F-35, it's a fantastic looking plane, but it ain't no tornado. Proper nuts and bolts job, that. So, yeah, that's my favourite military plane. I think the civil plane, now, not obviously going to go down the 747 route or anything like that, because everyone always says that. But I will probably say Dash 8, just because you don't see them as much as what you used to. And now we don't see them, because we used to see a lot of Manchester. We do miss them. And just the sight and the sound of them are absolutely fantastic.
Crack in. All right. So, seeing as we're doing both civil and military, I will go down the route of, for military purposes, it's probably going to be, I'd say maybe the B1. I think the B1 bomber.
Oh, yeah,
I think the
yeah.
Lancer.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really nicely shaped plane. It's totally different to what you'd normally expect, but
Absolutely massive they are. I saw one at Cosford a few years ago, and they're absolutely huge they are, and it really surprised me with the size of them. Fantastic plane, yeah.
Matt, I'd love to see one. I would love
Yeah.
to see one, but I haven't had the chance to yet. In terms of civil, easily anybody that knows me will know that the 757 has a massive place in my heart, and nothing will beat that. Definitely the 757. Right, next question we have. Now, I'll probably need a picture for this, but I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. Rob Brown Plane Spotting is saying thoughts on the Belgian F-16 display colours / livery.
I think I've seen it. Is it the black one with the white stripes on it? I think it is, isn't it? Black and white one. If I'm looking at the right plane.
I'm not entirely sure.
I'm sure I've seen an F-16. What was displaying? Let me just have a quick look.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it, so I'm kind of hoping for a picture. So I wouldn't actually know what I'm looking for because I may end up pulling the wrong one up. So I don't want to sort of get the wrong. Steve, have you seen it?
Yeah, if I'm looking at the correct photo, it's got a kind of zebra look about it.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's unique. I will definitely give them that. It's pretty cool. Like if you've seen it, you'd certainly know who it belonged to. That's for sure. It's unique, and it's got a real kind of zebra feel about it. It'd probably be good for a like a safari air force if such a thing existed. That would be amazing.
A safari air force.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of it now. It's a fantastic looking plane. I really like it.
Right, give me a second. I've just been sent a picture of it, so I will just grab it very quickly. But yeah, no, do carry on. Well, just while I grab the picture.
I was just going to say, we're going to go when I saw that just then. And we're talking about that Cosford Air Show a few years ago. Now I think it were 222, probably 217, 218, something like that. 2017, I think it was 2018. Could have been. Anyway, there was a tornado, an Italian tornado. I haven't got a picture of it. I did get a lot of pictures of it, to be quite honest, but that was an absolutely beautiful looking plane as well. I don't know whether you saw that. That was black and white with red on it. I can't remember exactly what it was celebrating now, but it just reminded me a little bit of the Belgian F-16 there. That was a fantastic looking plane. I'm just going to have a quick.
Does anybody in the chat know if we're going to get to see these visiting this year? Like, are they coming to Riat or any displays? Does anybody in the chat know about?
Oh, that's not the same one I was looking at.
No. Rob Brown has kindly sent me the picture. I saw this, but didn't realise this was it. But this is the Belgian livery for this year with what looks like a snake on the tail.
It's still pretty cool, though, isn't it? It's they're not. I wouldn't say they were particularly military. They've given them a real kind of unique sort of livery, haven't they? One to remember if you saw it, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's not as outlandish as some of the other previous years have been, but it's the Belgians know how to paint a nice F-16, and obviously a lot of these aircraft now are coming over to the UK for airshow season. Rob Brown saying that's from a mate who took that at Bryce Norton.
Oh wow!
So these aircraft are coming in. The Koreans are over here now as well with their display team. So it's sort of gearing up nicely for airshow season.
What's the relevance of the snake on the tail? Does anybody know?
Well, probably just I suppose it's just the design of it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything deeper than that. I don't particularly associate snakes with Belgium, to be honest.
However, to answer the question, I really like it. You can always trust the Belgians to kind of, like I say, produce a really nice livery for the rest
Yes,
of the
it is a nice livery. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The one
yeah,
that
I do
Steve
like
was
it.
on about, the zebra one, I believe was 2017. That one
Oh,
was.
was it? Yeah.
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 Had the Belgian flag on the tail and the zebra sort of shape on it. But yeah,
Yeah.
really nice. So thank you, Rob, for sending that.
Yeah, fantastic.
I believe it'll be at Fairford and all the other air shows as well. So it should be pretty cool.
Team Viper apparently, according to Jack and Liam.
Yeah,
Johnson,
Viper
Jim
demo
Tate
team.
Yeah, cool.
Viper. Yeah.
Always worth a follow on like social medias as well if you ever get a chance.
Yeah.
100%. Right, so let's go on to. We've got quite a few questions here. Paul Hussey is asking DC-10 or the L1011 TriStar, and we'll go with Ian.
I'd probably say a TriStar, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the same. Both of them look amazing, but I think the TriStar, I think, is probably edges it slightly. I think it deserved a bit more coverage than it got. Obviously, it was outsold by the DC-10.
Yeah.
And obviously, it was an aircraft well ahead of its time. But yeah, for me, TriStar wins it because I think it's a prettier looking plane.
Yeah, they're both.
I think it's quite iconic, isn't it? The TriStar compared to DC-10. I think a lot of people would probably. I don't know. I mean, if I shut my eyes and think of a TriStar, all I can see is a British Airways TriStar in my head, and I think that image has been stuck with me probably since I was a kid. To be quite honest,
it's also something a bit different.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah.
So no, nice, very nice.
Yeah, but certainly, kind of that era, very kind of synonymous with the era. I'm with these two, the TriStar, like Ian says, you can shut your eyes and you can see it in land or without too much effort, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, like I said, the TriStar just sort of clinches it for me. Both are nice, but yeah, just very tiny amount more for for TriStar. Vision's asking, big question, where's Mr. Rolls? He's in the chat tonight. As we said at the beginning, circumstances changed for him. We won't mention why, but he'll be on with us next week instead. Hence why we're doing a live Q&A tonight.
Yeah.
Lots of people going for TriStar as well. So I think TriStar probably gets it, I think. Lot of people get the TriStar more so than the DC-10. Let's have a look here. Mike B is asking, will we ever see a tri-jet being built again?
I think it's quite an interesting subject, isn't it? To be quite honest, I just don't think we will. To be honest, I just don't think they don't need one, do they? There's nothing a tri-jet will do what a twin jet can't do. To be honest,
yeah, true.
Yeah, I think the only time you'll see it, many moons ago, we did an episode and it was about concept aircraft for the future, and they're all hydrogen powered, like alternative powers. There's probably an argument that they could perhaps bring back a tri-jet for one of these alternative fuel aircrafts, but certainly not in this era of actual jet fuel. We won't see it, I don't think.
No, I would probably safely say that I think the era of more than two planes. I mean, apart from maybe like Dassault with their Falcon private planes, they're slowly edging towards sort of twin jet rather than tri-jet. That's probably the likelier one that you're going to see is any new sort of Falcon planes. You'll easily have them as tri-jets, I think, but you'll never see a commercial airliner with a tri-jet probably ever again.
No, I very much doubt that too.
Yeah, easily, I think. Question from Visions International: Ryanair or EasyJet? Discuss. Can we pick neither?
Especially, we talked about cheap airlines, didn't we? We talked about economy airlines and things like that not so long ago, didn't we? And I think we're all in agreement that they have a place, don't they? And I just think that they've just got a place in the market, haven't they? People want cheap flights, and they're the two people who are providing it. I think, personally, given the choice, I would probably fly on an EasyJet before a Ryanair, to be quite honest. And I think that's just down to reputation. I don't think there's any difference between the two carriers. When it comes down to it, they're all both offering dirt cheap fares, even though you get screwed over if you want to take a bag on board, if you want to sit near a door, if you want to use the toilet, or if you want a £5 mouthful of Heineken. They all do that, don't they? But I think if you just want a cheap flight, I think they're absolutely both fantastic and equally as good as one another, I would imagine.
Yes, I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. I would probably go, despite the issues they're having at the moment, I'd probably still go EasyJet, but I wouldn't turn down Ryanair, I think. That'd just be me, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you need to turn down Ryanair. I mean, they've both got an exemplary safety record, haven't they? And people go on about Ryanair landings and things like that. But, I mean, for 20 quid to get to the other side of Europe, what do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite. I've flown on both plenty of times. I've no issue with Ryanair, particularly they operate out of Bournemouth, so that's properly convenient. And but I'd lean towards EasyJet purely for the fact they've still got safety cards you can steal, whereas Ryanair don't. So that's where EasyJet win on that. But I think just the booking process as well with EasyJet, booking the flight is a lot sort of easier than Ryanair, I would say, for a simple brain like myself to negotiate through.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't turn any of them down, or especially Ryanair and that. But I think for me, like, I'd probably pick it. At the moment, at least, I've got more of an EasyJet wanting vibe to kind of want to fly with than Ryanair. So probably EasyJet for me.
It's probably an argument if you prefer, like say we're both flying out of Bournemouth to the same destinations. It's almost you're sort of asking, do you prefer Boeing or Airbus at that point, because they're going to do the same job for near enough the same price.
Yeah, pretty much like Neo or Max. It's one of those sort of questions. But we'll jump on that shortly because I think that'd be a good little topic to talk about. Samuel Taylor Ackroyd, good evening to you. He's asking, what airports do you wish to visit? I suppose that's probably anywhere in the world. I think the obvious answer would be St. Martin. But I'd quite like to give LAX a go as well. I think that'd be quite a nice little trip. And Amsterdam, of course. I think we've mentioned these so many times. But Steve, go for it for yours.
Well, certainly, I've said it previously, Anchorage would be absolutely quality. And also don't have the traffic. To witness stuff and landing and taking off at Luckler would be awesome. To see that happening for your own eyes would be absolutely amazing. But like Tom says, Amsterdam is one of the massive American hubs, would be very good. But yeah, if you had to pin it down to one, Anchorage would be my airport of choice.
Good stuff. Ian?
Yeah, like same as what Steve said. Really, to be quite honest, I think any of these iconic airports. I mean, you've got where is it? Where the TWA lounge is? Is that New York?
What's that?
I think I watched a Jeb Brooks episode where he went to the TWA lounge at I don't know whether it was Los Angeles.
JFK. Yeah.
Is it at JFK? Yeah. So I think I'd like to go there just to visit that, just because of the just the iconic status of it. To be quite honest, I think Miami's another one I'd like to go to, just because of its location. And I've watched some streams from Miami, and I just think it's a lovely place to watch airplanes from. To be quite honest, because you could also do a bit of fishing at the same time. St. Martin's an obvious one. I'm just trying to think of. I mean, Anchorage would be a good one, Steve, but it'd be cold.
You live up north. It would be the same as normal.
I beg your pardon?
You live up north, mate. It would just be the same as normal. Just bring your big coat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, bring your mittens with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, any of those, any iconic airport, really. There's so many in there to choose from.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Let's have a look here as we go through. Let's say lots of. I did see something about Top
Just
Gun
saw
there.
a comment then from Visions International saying a departure lounge trip to St. Martin's followed by Anchorage. I think he's funding it, so that's
Yeah, if
fantastic.
he's
Yeah,
funding
lovely.
it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he funds it, yeah, it'd be absolutely fantastic.
Appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we'll get planning that, and we'll be in cohesion with and talks with Ken about it, and let you know when it's happening. So if anyone fancies it, put your name on the list, and we'll get Ken to pay for you to go. Be all right.
We're not selfish. We'll stream it to your channel, Kent.
Oh yeah. Oh dear. Rob Brown, Plane Spotting. Anyone seen the new Top Gun film yet?
No, well, somebody asked in the chat, didn't he, what's your favourite aircraft film? And I think a lot of people would say Top Gun, wouldn't they? I've not seen the new one yet, and I think Marco's the only person who has seen it, to be quite honest.
I think Young Jack's gone as well.
Oh, has he? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm yet to see it.
No,
but it is something that I do want to do because it, from what I've heard from a lot of people, it's pretty good. So every time I'm hearing somebody like, "Oh, I'm going to go see a new Top Gun," I'm like, "No spoilers," because I want to see it at some point, so don't ruin it for me.
Well, there's half a chance it could be shown on our flight when we have this departure lounge trip away.
Very true. We'll have plenty of time.
There.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time because obviously we can't go to St. Martin direct, so we have to fly to France first and then go from France to St. Martin, which will give us plenty of time. And then a nice trip to Anchorage as well, so we can fit as many films in as we can.
So yeah, we can just watch it on the aircraft. But yeah, to answer your question sensibly, I've not been to see it. I would like to go and see it. If there's any willing young ladies who fancy a date down this way, give me a message and we'll go watch it.
I've just had flashbacks to an old episode we did, Ian.
Yeah. Yeah, I think let's talk about that one. I think the best.
Yeah,
to be honest,
let's swiftly move on.
Definitely.
Qantas 787 Dude obviously changed his name because it was too long for me to read out, so I just changed it to Dude. It says, will the Supersonic be back? Will there be Supersonic travel back in the skies?
Well, apparently so. United Airlines are going to rock on with it, aren't they? 2025, 26, is it? They're bringing out the boom, is it?
I think the boom's due 29 for its first commercial flight.
Is that right?
I think it's 29. Yeah, it's quite a while off yet, isn't it? In grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to happen. To be quite honest,
no.
I think it will because there's a big sort of interest in it from a lot of people, from different parts of the world. So I think it will. I think it will happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's going to be one of those ones. I know they've said, it'll be priced affordably compared to Concorde, but you're still going to be paying at least business rates at the very best. So it's one you're going to capture from the ground, I think, rather than actually be able to fly on like you would any sort of normal aircraft across to America or what have you.
Yeah.
Pricing wise would be an interesting one. I think that's what you have to wait and see. I think you have to wait and see the cost of building it to the cost of what it's going to be like to fly on it, because it's supposed to be affordable to sort of the average Joe, but whether that would end up being the case or not, because of the high cost of production or not, we'll have to kind of just wait and see. So at least that's my opinion. I think personally, I think it will happen, but I don't. If it does happen, a little part of me thinks it won't be around for long.
Yeah, it's going to encounter a lot of red tape, isn't it? And I think like the way the price of fuel's going up, just generally, not just in our cars, but across the board, it's whether it carries on actually being economically viable to then produce this aircraft, because it's going to cost a small fortune to get it there and obviously back again.
Well, I think if you go back to days of Concorde, where the noise restriction with Concorde and things like that stopped Concorde succeeding, to be fair, didn't it? And that was Concorde's downfall, that nobody wanted it flying over the country just because of the racket it made. Why is this going to be any different? This isn't going to be any different, is it? And I think as well, like Steve was saying, with the cost of fuel and things like that, in a time where we're trying to save the planet and become more environmentally aware and things like that, and go greener where aircraft are going, that's just going to knock us 20 years back, isn't it? Because it's not to run, is it?
I think Jim Gemmel's absolutely sort of nailed it on the head here a little bit with why it might not succeed as such.
Very good point. Businessmen don't need to travel for meetings nowadays. What with Zoom calls, etc. Not the market for it nowadays, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Totally
I think so, and I think in today's world, in terms of like what's been happening, the need to travel to these places for meetings and things like that, I don't think it's there. Because, like you say, now that Zoom, like Jim says, like Zoom calls and stuff, it's just easier to do it that way.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So maybe that might be another reason why a lot of people may think it won't happen, because the market won't be there, like it was with Concorde back in the day. Because obviously things like Zoom calls and everything else didn't really exist.
No.
So
Yeah,
it's a case of waiting to see what happens with that, I think.
Yeah. I think it's a nice idea, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We'll see, won't we? I mean, traveling to space is the next big thing, isn't it? With Virgin Galactic and people like that, isn't it? So, I mean, whether that's even going to take off, that's another question, isn't it? That'll probably just fizzle out as well, won't it? Just with its soaring cost of it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, everything's just go sort of going up and up and up, isn't it? And at some point, like, whilst these things are important to Virgin as a company reputationally, are they actually that important in the grand scheme of things? Well, unfortunately, probably not. Are they?
Probably not, are they? No.
Comment of the night so far from Visions: Zoom has surpassed Boom. #boom boom. Very good. Very good indeed. Rob Brown Planespotting just asking now that the 225 has been, it's gone. The C5 Galaxy or the Antonov 124? It's a tough one, that, because both are
C5 Galaxy,
a really tough one. You've got to really think about it as well.
Yeah. I think the C5 Galaxy for me. Yeah, it's just
I think I'm inclined to agree.
How it looks.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree. I've got to go C5 Galaxy. Never seen one. But the problem is that the C5 has been re-engined, so it hasn't got that scream that it has from like before. So now it's just like a standard sort of plane. But before it was like you watch old videos of it taking off back when it was, before it had the engine change.
Yeah.
And it's just insane. Like, the noise is incredible. But yeah, I think C5, because I think I want to see that maybe a little bit more than the 124, which is maybe a little bit controversial to say.
Yeah, it's obviously ridiculously unfortunate what's happened to the 225 and that. And it was the kind of crowning the jewel for Antonov, but sort of as a straight question, the C5 Galaxy is a better looking sort of aircraft, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough one, that, because you really got to think about it.
Yeah,
really got to think about it. Whilst we wait for some other questions, I mean, just a quick one, quick couple. Jack Rolls, Hydra APUs, of course. Says football or cricket. I mean, it's an easy question. Steve?
I do enjoy both. I watch both, but I don't get passionate about cricket the same way as I do football. So football was the winner for me there.
All right. Ian?
Yeah, same. Football. I mean, football's a bit of a... No, we aren't using a bad word or anything like that. It's not like it used to be, is it? But cricket, it looks like it's going to rain. It's gone a little bit dark. Let's go and have a cup of tea. They don't do that in football yet, do they?
Oh, hang on. I forgot about the cake. That might swing it back to cricket.
Yeah.
I'm more of a football man. Like, I can play cricket, but if I have to sit and watch, I couldn't do it. Like, you couldn't pay me. So you went, I've got £1 million if you want to sit and watch like a 4-day test of cricket. No, thank you. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for me, thanks.
I think it's like snooker, isn't it? I think snooker's I enjoy playing it, but watching it's just boring. And I think, I was going to say golf then, but golf's just boring, full stop. So
Yeah.
That's half the retired viewership disappeared now.
Yeah.
Ian, well
I've
done.
just seen the numbers dwindle. Thanks for that.
And this is coming from a guy with a fishing trophy up here for winning a fishing competition.
Well,
So
there you go.
You
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah,
Well
talking
done.
about boring sports.
Fantastic. While we wait for some more questions to come in, I want to touch upon something that happened in the news this sort of past week. I think it might have been quite recent. And this was, I think it was yesterday. Might have been yesterday, actually. But there was news, of course, given everything going on, we're not going to dive too much into it. But a particular Russian airline, Aeroflot, of course, massive sort of trouble with them at the moment because of obviously the politics and stuff happening at the minute. Lessors want their Western aircraft back, etc. So what do you do? What do you do when you've got a huge fleet of Western aircraft and all the lessors want them back? You go and order some Russian planes, and apparently they're preparing an order of up to 300 Russian aircraft, which will combine of the but ugly Irkut MC-21. And apparently this is also supposed to include the Tupolev 214 as well, which I think is quite interesting. What do we think about, without, like I said, without diving into it, what do we think about the fact that obviously, Russian aircraft are pretty much going to have to be built for Aeroflot to pretty much continue?
Yeah, but there's probably an argument. I know a lot of Aeroflot, they use mainly Airbus, don't they? They got the new 350, which looks absolutely stunning, and they used 330s previously. Is there an argument to say that Airbus are sort of cutting off their nose to spite their face? I know the reasons why they're doing it, but like at some point when this settles down, they've lost all that side of the trade and upkeep and fresh orders. And I'm not saying for a minute they should be supplying them now or helping them out now, but they've lost themselves 300 orders, haven't they, by doing this in a business sort of brain of it, not taking away obviously the more important aspect, but yeah, from a business point of view, they've just done themselves out of 300 aircraft here.
I think it's more of a put your foot down and keep it there sort of thing. I think like there's a lot of talk that I've seen, like obviously, exactly what these planes will be for them. The Sukhoi Superjet, that's supposed to jump in there as well. There was talk of reopening the Ilyushin IL-96 production line again to help them out, but I think that got squashed. So I think that's out of the question. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, obviously, they've bought a few Western planes that were stranded to kind of be put onto the Russian register. So that kind of takes that out of the way. But I think it's quite interesting. And I think it's one to keep an eye on as well, because like what we were saying at the moment, with everything that's going on, where do they go?
Well, yeah, they got nowhere to fly, have they, really? They can go to Moscow, to St. Petersburg and back, and that's pretty much the grand sum of it at the moment, isn't it? I know there's a few countries who haven't stopped them flying over their country. I don't know exactly who's who. I'm sure they can probably still fly into China, places like that, if they particularly want to. But
No.
Yeah, their main bulk of stuff was out west, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I think it's going to be one to kind of keep an eye out for anyway, and just see what progresses, I think, from that side of things. But we'll move away from the whole politics side of things. We'll go on to something a little bit more lighthearted. Didn't ask it at the beginning, but we'll ask it now. What are you boys drinking?
Oh, Ian, what you want, mate?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Whatever we're actually getting, it is actually empty. So yeah. It was water, and it's just dribbled down my face. So
Lovely. All right, Steve, what you want?
In fact,
Other stouts are available.
I won't be a sec.
He's off to get another drink. We'll take him off screen while he does that. And I'm on the very posh elderflower sparkling drink because
Look
it's
at
like
that.
the most refreshing thing in the world.
Oh, yeah,
And you
fun
can
fact for everyone. I heard ages ago that you can live purely off Guinness. There's everything you need in Guinness to live. But did a little Google search. It's not true. You'd end up dying of scurvy because you wouldn't get any vitamin C in your diet. So don't try and live off just Guinness. Is my advice tonight.
Statman over here. Lovely
Yeah.
job. Good stuff. All right. Let's have a look at a question from Gail. She's asking us our least favorite aircraft. It's a tough one, but go on, Steve.
I wouldn't say it's my least favorite aircraft as such, but 737-800s, you see so many of them, but they're just a non-event unless there's a particular livery. It's probably an easier question to say there's certain liveries I don't like. I make no secret of the fact that I don't like Jet2 Holidays livery, particularly on the 737. So, but yeah, I think just because of the sheer number of 737-800s knocking around, I would say that's my least favorite aircraft because they're two a penny.
Yes. I think it's. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head. I would probably go for, if I had to really pick one, my least favorite aircraft. Do you know it's? I'd probably go for. Do you know what? I'm probably going to get a little bit of hate for this, but I'm actually going to go for the 787-10.
Ooh, controversial.
No, definitely controversial.
I have my reasons because I think it just looks far too big for what it actually is. There's too much plane, and like it just almost looked like it's. Do you remember like when the 757-300 came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's it looks too long, etc." and things like that. And it's like the wings look the same as the 200, but they've just added extra body onto it. It kind of looks like the same for the 787-10, and I don't like it. When I see it at Heathrow, like British Airways, and on the odd occasion like Etihad and stuff, I take the pictures, I take the video of it, but I don't get excited because it's like I don't have that urge like I do with the 350.
Yeah, true.
So for me, that's probably Oh, of course. Going on from, I think it was from last week, Samuel Taylor Ackworth with his controversial views again, saying that he doesn't like the 757 or the A340. So we'd like to just thank you for your time of being a moderator on the channel.
Yeah.
But I would, for me, easily the 787-10 just looks far too big for what it actually is. Like far too big. Rob Brown, Plane Spotting, asking, if you were head of the Royal Canadian Air Force, would you buy an A330 or a KC-46 to replace the A310? What a good question that is. Anyone would chip in? Let's go.
I would probably go for the A330, just like parts, etc., are far more readily available, and there's obviously plenty of them in the skies already, and I think they know exactly what they were getting with it. So, I think they would. Well, they should go for the A330, in my opinion.
A330. Ian, I know you forgot your name then.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, they're very similar, aren't they? I don't know about size-wise. I'm actually looking at a KC 46 now in front of me, and I think, I mean, there's not much in it, is there? I think the KC 46 is a bigger plane than the 330, isn't it?
The what? What was that?
I think the KC 46 is it. Yeah, no. So I'm looking. I'm saying it's a bigger plane, isn't it?
Well, the KC 46 is a 767-200.
Right. I don't know then. I don't know. I mean, if it's only for shipping presidents around and things like that, I mean, what's up with a 310? What's up with that? It does the
Getting
same
old.
job, doesn't it?
Getting old.
Yeah, it still does the same job. Why don't you get something smaller? Why don't you get a 320 Neo or something like that and use something like that instead of having to have something like that kind of size? It's not Air Force One, is it? So,
Well, I mean,
I mean, look at Boris Johnson.
Well,
with his A330.
I think personally, because of obviously travel and stuff like that, yes, a 321 Neo could probably do it. But I think purely because of the French-Canadian connection, they probably go 330.
Yeah, you're probably right. They probably will do.
Yeah.
I don't think the KC-46 is literally like... I don't think it's anything... The thing is, a lot of people were looking at the KC-46 going, oh, brand new aircraft and stuff. And then a lot of people after that were like, but it's a 767-200. It's like so outdated. So, like, what makes it any different? Like, yes, you've got the P8 Poseidon, which is a 737-800 with raked wingtips, and then it's like you're turning a plane that was made in the 80s and making brand new ones now, but you're not really changing anything. So a lot of people, I think, have seen the KC-46 as a negative. Don't get me wrong; it's making its UK Airshow debut this year at Fairford and stuff. So I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I think it's quite pointless.
Oh, fair enough.
Right, well.
But yeah, that's just me.
Well, yeah, like you say, the French connection was a very good reason to stick with the Airbus, clearly.
Very good question, though. Very good question indeed.
Yeah. It's not one I expected to come up, to be quite honest.
No.
Rob Brown says that he's heard that Canada might go the same way as the Aussies with an A330 and consider and convert a former airliner to MRTT use.
Well.
Of course, the Australian one that they have is a former Qantas plane. So it's always an option if they want to turn one of the older sort of Air Transat planes. Maybe. Always an option.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in terms of like environmental friendliness, I suppose, I think Canada are sort of way in front of a lot of people, and they would probably choose to do that rather than buying a brand new plane, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Have you heard also this week about, obviously we know that Qantas were bringing back their A380s, but did you hear that one of them is actually getting scrapped?
No, but again, like we were sort of touching on earlier on, the age of quad jets is slowly dying in front of our eyes. So whilst it's sad, it's almost inevitable, isn't it, that that's going to happen? And yeah, I think like if you can see a 380, enjoy it, because 10 years, 15 years time, there'll be a memory, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah. So the aircraft in question is Victor Hotel Oscar Quebec Foxtrot, which was the 6th aircraft ordered by Qantas, and it was delivered to them on January the 8th, 2010, making it, of course, a very young 12 years old. The aircraft has since been stored because obviously the pandemic from 2020, and they've decided that they're going to scrap this plane and use it for spares and stuff. Obviously now the production line is no longer open. You need to be able to kind of get bits and bobs as and when it's needed. So this plane has become the one to be spares, which I think is a bit of a shame, but it's by no means a nudge or a hint as to what Qantas plan on doing. They still plan on bringing them back into service, which is what they've been doing over the last sort of few months and that. But yeah, a bit of a shame to see one of the Qantas ones go.
Yeah, it is a real shame. It's only really Emirates who are properly waving the flag for the 380 these days. I think a lot of these companies almost see them as a kind of like a liability, at this point, and they're sort of using them because they're there. Like, if they didn't have them, they certainly wouldn't be ordering them at this point, if that sort of makes sense to you.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, you've got the Etihad ones, which are no longer, they're not coming back, and Qantas hopefully aren't going down the same way of sort of retiring them and backtracking on what they wanted to do originally. So,
I was going to say about Qantas, they've, they can fly a Dreamliner from Australia to UK now. I was actually googling it. Was it operate? What do they call it? Sunrise or something like that? They call it
Project Sunrise. Yeah.
Yeah. Project Sunrise. So if they can do that, they don't really need a 380, do they? They can manage quite easily without them, can't they?
Maybe on the more sort of higher capacity routes, maybe.
I think they'd probably use and go into places like Malaysia, wouldn't they? And places like that. It's quite close in grand scheme of things, isn't it? But even then, the cost of flying from Australia to, I don't know, it just depends on the capacity and how full they do actually get, doesn't it? And I don't know. I just think they're quite happy managing. It's like every other company who's flying 380s. Like you were saying, Steve, in the next few years, they're all going to disappear anyway, aren't they? So they're just sort of ahead of the curve, aren't they, to be quite honest? And I think they're just going to slowly do away with them like everybody else is doing.
Oh, yeah, it's a shame.
They haven't really got need for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, like I say, to borrow a quote, it's a sign of the times.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. Well, I've often wondered about. I watch when I watch Airline live, and I watch the A380 coming into Manchester, and I mean, some days 2 flights a day or whatever. We are 380. I don't think that plane's full every day. It's not full. It can't possibly be full.
No.
And I think they would probably get away with a 777 or even a 350 or something like that for the capacity of the actual plane. For the amount of people flying in and out. I mean, I wouldn't like to say, but I think they're only flying it in and out because they've got it, and that's pretty much. So. And like you say, we people at Emirates and stuff like that, fuel isn't a real issue for them, is it?
We'll take a quick sort of just pause. Somil Bandari obviously joined us for the first time last week, and he's joined us again this week, and he's obviously departing us now. So. He says, good night, Tom, Ian, Stephen, everybody. So
lovely. Thanks for joining us, mate. Have a good one.
Good night, thank you so much for watching tonight. Liam Grant, who I am taxiing for when we go to departure day, is watching. He's asking F-22 or the F-35. And let's go with the military man himself, Ian, first.
Well, I think for sheer excitement as a spotter, I think it'd have to be an F-22, wouldn't it? I mean, there's that piece of footage, isn't there? And I think it was on Earthshore World. I think it was on where it takes off vertically. Have you seen that with the F-22 where it just takes off and just goes up like a rocket?
Oh, unrestricted climb.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I think the F-22 for me. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a massive fan of F-35. I really am. But F-22.
Go on, Steve.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to agree with Ian. I think the F-22 looks a bit kind of scarier and harder than the F-35. It's got a little bit more menace about it. So on that basis, that's winning it for me.
Fair play. Maybe you have to go against the green then, I think, because I quite like the F-35.
Oh, well.
Like the F-22s, it was different back then. And obviously the F-35's come in now. And yeah, I'd say for me, the F-35 is just, I think it looks a bit sleeker than the F-22. Not to dump on the not to dump on the F-22. But yeah, I think that the F-35 looks a bit better.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's all objective. Oh, all right, there, Ian.
Yep, sorry. The plug had come out. I've just got a warning saying my battery was going flat on my laptop. The plug had come out at back, so I've just had to plug it back in again. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. yeah, it's. I don't know. I think it's like I say. Most of these things are down to preference, but I think for me, F-35. But I would love to see an F-22.
Oh, I would as well, definitely.
Yeah,
I think someone commented on Liam Grant when the F-35 looks soft. I think it does look soft, and when you see it flying, you just think that they're being a little bit careful with it, don't you think? They're a bit more. I'm not going to call them Sunday drivers, these pilots, because that's the last thing they are. But they just tend to fly them a bit more tentatively than what an F-22 pilot flies this plane, or even a Typhoon pilot or a Tornado pilot. It just seems to be a little more careful with them for some reason. Maybe that's because it's new and they don't want to. I mean, they're expensive bits of kit, them F-35s, aren't they? And they are prone to falling at sea, I think, aren't they? Yeah, there has been a few lost, hasn't there?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money to lose, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. We'll move on to a question from Cash D, who asks KLM or Lufthansa?
For me, I would say Lufthansa. They've got an amazing catalogue of different aircraft. They're still flying the 747 this month. If you're not aware, is Pride Month, and they've actually changed one of their 320 Neos to Lufthansa, and it's all in rainbow colours to celebrate pride and diversity. So I think Lufthansa do it well. They got a lot of different liveries as well. When you're up at Heathrow as well, you're never quite sure exactly what's going to show up. I do appreciate KLM. They've got decent colour scheme, and they've got a nice sort of selection of wide bodies and the like. But I just think Lufthansa is a kind of classic, and they still, like I say, operate the 747.
Ian, over to you.
I'd probably say exactly the same thing. I was always a massive fan of Lufthansa. Just the livery alone, even the new livery. But I used to watch airclips.com, and there were a 3-part special with a Lufthansa pilots. I think they were flying an MD-11, weren't they, from Frankfurt to, I think they ended up going to Johannesburg or something like that. And it was a cockpit thing. It was about 3 hours long, this thing, but just the actual listening to what the pilots were saying about the Lufthansa, the way they do things, about the training academies, because they actually have there are actually Lufthansa training academy videos as well, which I've also watched. And I mean, I'm sure KLM are exactly the same with their training academies and the way they look after the staff and the way they treat people. I think they're I'm not calling them in any shape, way, or form, but Lufthansa seems to have a really, really good philosophy on how to maintain and how to look after the staff and what have you. And I think there are, like Steve was saying, they've got a massive range of aircraft. I've always liked the livery. The livery is fantastic, and I just think that they probably are a really, really nice company to work for too. So yeah, I would say Lufthansa. Not saying KLM aren't like that, but I'd edge it towards Lufthansa.
I think again I'd have to go against the grain and go for KLM. I think just purely because I follow like KLM on social media and stuff, and they're very customer orientated and very much about the next generation, and it's really nice to watch half the time. You get like a really good insight into the people that fly for them as well, all the pilots, female pilots, male pilots, and cabin crew, and you get a real sense of like a family sort of airline with KLM. Whereas obviously I don't really follow too much on Lufthansa, but I imagine it's probably the same. So, but I think purely for the fact that they were one of the last European airlines to fly the MD-11. They were one of the last European airlines to fly the 747. They still fly the 747 in the cargo capacity. But yeah, I don't know. I think I prefer it. I think I just prefer it just.
I suppose the good thing about KLM, we're on the flight path down here, so I can message Tom and go, treble seven over top, and then 10 minutes later, Tom will go, "Yep, just heard it. We'll just seen it if it's a clear day," so we can give each other heads up on KLMs coming across the southwest of England.
Yeah, that for me is probably another reason why, because we don't really get. I mean, maybe one or two, but the corridor that I live under at the moment is very, very heavily populated by a lot of KLM aircraft. Whether they go into like Argentina, so in the next sort of hour or so, I can probably expect a 787-9 to go over the top of me to Argentina, and in the next sort of, tomorrow at some stage, even though I'll be at work, you would normally see the Peru flights crossing each other, and they're like 777s. So, and the thing is, you don't even need to look because you can tell it's them because you can still see the blue of the livery from so far down. So yeah, so there's no actual need to look it up on thingy. So once you've had a look once, you sort of know that around the time that that you can sort of expect to see them. So I think that's probably why KLM, I prefer them to for me. A lot of people sort of are going all over the place. A lot of people saying Lufthansa as well, purely for the 747.
Yeah, they've still kept loyal to it, haven't they?
Yeah, it's good. Lots of people. Visions going for KLM as well. Gail saying that she likes Lufthansa. So pretty much one of those ones that sort of divides opinion, I think. But talking of dividing opinion, we'll go for two sort of news articles as well that we found. One we'll start off with, which I think we'll probably wrap up very quickly, and then one that I sort of want to spend a little bit of time talking about. Obviously, Donald Trump, when he was in charge, he came out with a brand new Air Force One livery. Everyone sort of thought it took a little bit of, what Air Force One meant. And it was kind of like, this is what we're doing. Well, Joe Biden's now come out and completely scrapped the brand new livery. Completely. What do we think about this? We'll go Ian first.
I don't want to get involved in politics, to be quite honest. I had nothing against the current livery, and I had nothing against the Donald Trump livery, to be quite honest. It was a nice looking livery. I would probably say it's more of a slapping face to Donald Trump off Joe Biden more than a decision on painting the plane, to be quite honest. And that's what I think. Yeah.
Fair play. Steve?
I suppose the only thing you'd say is they've kind of messed with iconic livery. Whether it needed to be updated and brought into the modern times is probably up for debate. But I think if you say to me Air Force One, I picture it as it used to be. And as I'm southern and a little bit backwards, I'm scared of change. So I'm quite happy that it's gone back to what it should be.
Very good. I think I'm along the lines of I'm quite glad as well. I think I'm quite glad that it's not going to be happening because I don't know. Maybe somewhere down the line it needs refreshing, but I don't think now is the right time. And I think it's so synonymous with Air Force One to kind of, like have that livery that it's if you see it anywhere you'll be like, oh, I know what that is, like that's Air Force One sort of thing. Whereas if you change it up a little bit, I think it's sort of maybe, don't know, might be a little bit weird to say, but it loses its mystique.
Yeah,
a little bit by changing it up a bit because everyone's so familiar. It's been one of those liveries that's been around since like the 707 days, and then to change it up a little bit, I mean, yeah. I don't think it needs, like Darren Smith has just said there, like, I don't think it needs changing. You could probably put it in the same category as what the American Airlines Chrome livery was. Like, it did need changing.
Oh, don't.
Sorry. Sorry, Steve. But, just be sort of, I don't know. I think it might just lose its mystique a little bit.
Yeah.
You'd still be excited to see it, but it wouldn't be as like impactful as what it would be like now. Coming from like from a spotter's point of view. But that's just my opinion. But the one thing I do want to talk about, and this has been mentioned, and I think it'd be a shame if we didn't mention it because it's ticked a lot of people off. yes, ticked a lot of people off this week, is the CEO of Wizz Air. He has Christopher Ferrari has called out pilots that report fatigue um, in such a manner that this is the direct quote that he said. He said, "Now that everyone is getting back into work, I understand that fatigue is a potential outcome of these issues. But once we are starting stabilizing the rosters, we also need to take down the fatigue rate. We cannot run this business when every fifth person of a base reports sickness because the person is fatigued." Essentially saying, going on to kind of say as well, we are all fatigued, but sometimes it is required to go the extra mile. The damage is huge when we cancel a flight. It's reputational damage to the brand, and it is also financial, transactional damage because we have to pay compensation for that. So essentially, it's if you're tired, tough. It's like Ian being asked to drive a van when you've done like a 24-hour shift sort of thing, and it's like right straight back to it.
Yeah, I think the problem is he understands the general public at the moment are incredibly frustrated with what's going on, and I think his way of trying to sympathise and get public support has come across terribly, because what he's saying is we don't want to be grounding flights. We're with you. We're supporting you, which is great, lovely. But what it actually reads as, we're quite happy to gamble on your safety for someone who's not 100% on it. And I don't know about you. I'd rather not stay on the ground, but I'd rather stay on the ground compared to a pilot and her co-pilot who are struggling to perform their duties because they're absolutely shattered from flying too many hours and doing too much. Yeah, safety has to come first in aviation. That's pretty much what the industry is all about. It's safety first. So you can't compromise on it just to like tick a few boxes with your punters, I'm afraid.
Yeah. How would you feel as a passenger if you, let's say, Luton is one of their bases and you booked a flight with Wizz Air, and for whatever reason you came across this article that the CEO was like, if the pilots are fatigued, it doesn't matter, still making them fly. How would you feel as a passenger knowing you'd have to spend 2-3 hours on the plane with a potentially fatigued pilot?
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be happy. Like you don't pay it much attention when you're in an airport, and when you get on the aircraft, you assume that the pilot at the front is as competent and as aware as they can be. And it's not, it's over dramatic to say you're placing your life in their hands, because you're not. They're so well trained that you just trust them to get you to and from. But if there's any niggling doubt, particularly if you're a nervous passenger, like you wouldn't dream of going on, would you? If you were ever so slightly scared of the whole experience, why would you possibly risk? It could turn you off flying ever again. Like that.
Yeah.
That's how dramatic it is.
Yeah. For those obviously still watching, I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on how you would feel as a passenger, knowing that you're getting on. You've seen this article and your pilot could potentially be fatigued. Like, would you demand to get off? Would you cancel your holiday before you even get to the airport, and maybe just go and find someone else to potentially fly? Because I can't imagine anybody sitting there, especially down from the CEO, to kind of be like, that was a great idea. Well done for telling us. At least we know. Everyone's going to be crapping their pants. Like, who are you flying with? Wizz Air. Well, good luck with that.
I think in reality, it probably happens all the time. Like, we all go to work when we're feeling a little bit tired or whatever. But your boss isn't going to say, Tom might not be up to his usual standards today because he's a bit tired, or Ian might potentially get this wrong that he's a bit tired, but we'll force him to carry on the off chance he doesn't make a mistake. He'll be fine, and that's pretty much what he's saying here. Like,
well, the thing is, we pilots, whether the Wizz Air, whether the Ryanair, whether the British Airways, whether the Lufthansa, they're only allowed to work so many hours anyway, aren't they? And that's same with. I mean, I drive a wagon, so it's exactly the same as driving a wagon. You can only drive so many hours. So I don't think this is a new problem, what's just appeared overnight and he's sort of pushed it to the forefront. I think this is a problem. What's been going on for a while. It's. I mean, I can drive so many hours a day, then I have to have a break for so many hours, and that's the law. And it's exactly the same for pilots. I can still get up after my break and still be tired and fatigued and things like that, especially after a long week or whatever. And that'll be exactly the same for pilots. I don't think it's a new problem, what he's just encountered. I think what he's done, I think he's, number one, I think he's shot himself in foot because I think it's raised an issue, to be quite honest, about the amount of hours that pilots are flying. Maybe they're already flying too many hours, and that's why they're becoming fatigued. And maybe he's raised an issue what hadn't been raised before. He's done it the wrong way. He's probably ended up going to shoot himself in foot. It's a terrible statement to come out with for a start off. And he's pretty much saying that his pilots are fatigued. But his pilots won't be working any longer hours than Ryanair, EasyJet or British Airways because they're governed, aren't they? By
well, it's not just that, it's all the crew as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, the crew as well, yeah. So they can only work so many hours anyway. So I think he's raised an issue what hasn't probably been raised before, and he's probably going to end up shooting himself in the foot because a lot of people are going to look into that and say, well, hang on a minute, if these pilots are fatigued, why are they working so many hours? Maybe the unions will get involved and try and bring their flying hours down. I don't know. Maybe it's going to have probably a bigger impact than what he anticipated, to be quite honest.
I think so. I think
like I was saying, in the grand scheme of things, this is all down to airports and airlines being short of numbers at the moment.
Yeah.
And aircraft being grounded. And the frustrations got the better of him. And rather than saying we're working as hard as we can, we're trying to get new employees, we're going double rate to make sure this doesn't affect the 6 weeks holiday in particular. He's picked on arguably the most important people in his fleet to upset.
Absolutely.
I mean, like I say, it's not just, it's not just the fact that, they're picking on pilots and whoever. Like, I mean, it literally goes down to the entire crew. There's there's an interesting, for those that watch, programs like Air Crash Investigation, if you've seen the one on the Colgan Air flight from 2009, which I believe was a Dash 8. I think it was like a Continental subsidiary sort of thing, like a low cost type thing. That came down because of pilot fatigue. So when you're seeing these things to do with fatigue, and fatigue is one of the massive things about mishaps. We had Carlene Petit on way back at the beginning of the show. She was touching upon that as well. I also think I think Laura Savino may have touched upon it as well. I've got names in my head, but when fatigue is one of those things where it's a massive deal to say these things, no matter who it is, pilot, first officer, cabin crew, whoever, these people are still prone to make mistakes. It could take not shutting the doors properly. It could not do one little thing because of fatigue that you don't remember. Because we all have these moments in everyday life where you get tired from probably working, and then you come home, then you think, I was supposed to do something, but I can't remember what it is. It only takes it to do it up there.
Well, yeah, ATC are telling them an instruction or whatever, like clear the runway, go round, whatever, and if they don't do it, the results could be potentially fatal. It's not,
I think it's just bonkers. I think it's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's opened the can of worms, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
By saying that.
I'd say so. I think so. I think it is a massive, shooting yourself in the foot, foot in mouth and things like that.
Absolutely.
It's a crazy thing to say. Absolutely crazy, especially to go public. and say that sort of thing. I think it's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. He's obviously done it as some kind of publicity, like Steve was saying at the beginning, trying to get on the side of the passengers. We're going to pull out all the stops to make sure that we get you to your destinations and stuff like that. But as many people have said in the comments, he's putting profit before safety. And I'd rather spend a week down my local river in a tent than risk my life going on a Wizz Air plane, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Well, he's lost my business.
Yeah, it's just a little bit bizarre. A little bit bizarre indeed.
Yeah.
We'll go through some of the comments. Let's have a look here to see what people have said. 01 Tasker 01 says, Wizz Air need to shut up at the moment. Not exactly filling themselves with glory lately. Jim Gemmell saying, sounds like profit before safety.
Yeah.
Rob Brown, Plain Spotting, says, controversial from the Wizz Air CEO. It's been proven numerous times that fatigue is well-known cause for mishaps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a look here. Michael Painter says, with CEO comments like that, it would ring alarm bells. I think they are not putting safety first. I would say well clear of that airline.
Absolutely. When you go back to the air crash investigation, what you were talking about, Tom, I mean, the first thing they always do when there's been an accident is pilot error, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if that is genuinely the case, it's normally down to pilot fatigue anyway, what's caused the pilot error, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I say, you have to miss a switch, misread a bit of communication, and that's it, and it's game over. So,
yeah. Rob Brown there saying that a pilot on an ITA flight from New York to Rome fell asleep. So to speak, tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must be more and more common. Like when you hear the reports at recent times, like from check-in to what's actually going on in the plane and everything in between, everyone spread so thin at the moment, particularly these sort of, well, Manchester particularly is in the news, Birmingham's in the news, I know Gatwick's been in recently, and everyone's just like flat out. And the problem is, it's a vicious circle, isn't it? Because you're complaining, people are tired, but all that's going to happen is people can get more and more tired, and you're going to end up with less staff because they'll either get off sick or they'll sack it off altogether because it's doing their head in.
Yeah. What do we think about the whole shortages at places like Manchester and things like that? Do you think it's a lot of people slagging off all these airports and stuff and things like that? Do you think it's just a case of being understaffed and just all this demand now that...
I'll tell you a story now. I've heard this story a couple of times this week while I've been out and about at work, and I've been to a couple of businesses, and the guys who are actually running the business, the bosses of these businesses, are asking me, do I know anybody who wants to go and work for them? And I've said to them, are you struggling to find staff? You wouldn't think there'd be a problem with finding staff with the amount of people who lost their jobs and the amount of people who got laid off and all the rest of it during the pandemic and what have you. And he says, the trouble is, he says, now all these people were furloughed. They've all got used to sitting on their asses and doing nothing at home. And then that's how they want to stay. And the people just do not want to work. People don't want to go back to the minimum wage jobs what they had before. And I suppose I understand why in a lot of ways. But I just don't think there's a culture for I don't know. People just don't seem to want to go back to work, and I think there's something's broken in the system somewhere.
Do you think it's too much time off, sort of thing, during the pandemic?
I think it is too much time off, and I can sort of vouch for sort of some of it with the amount of time I had to have off work for different reasons, but. I don't know. It's quite a sensitive subject. I don't really want to touch on it too much, but sort of having things paid for you and what have you becomes quite. It's quite. You're never going to be as well off unless you go to work. That goes without saying. But the thing is, while you're not working and you've got the government looking after you, the government paying you benefits and things like that, And in a lot of cases, they're paying other things for you at the same time, like the rent for your buildings, for your council tax and things like that. And it can become quite cushy. And people are managing to live on what they're sort of getting through the benefit system and things like that. And I think that's where the problem sort of isn't quite right. Obviously, there's genuine people who really need this kind of help and all the rest of it. But the people who are fit enough to go back to work, and people who did, I don't know, it's quite hard without upsetting some people, not upsetting other people. But I just think there's something quite not right with the system, and it's preventing people from wanting to go back to work. And I'm not sure what that is or how to fix it or anything like that. But I think that's part of the culture.
Yeah, I do agree with Ian quite a lot. I broke my ankle a couple of years ago, and I was off work for 6 months, and they left me on relatively decent pay, and you do become used to it. It's great. You can go to bed when you want. You wake up, and you're fresh all day. You don't feel tired, and apart from my ankle, nothing taken. And then once it got a little bit better, you can go and do what you want, and you were still getting paid. It was it was like a 6-month holiday. I don't know if leaving the EU has maybe had an impact. I don't know if the law on being able to get jobs over here for people in Europe has become a little bit more difficult, and that's left a hole where there used to be a lot of people to fill positions. I don't know if that's a thing.
It's funny you should say that, Steve. Just sorry for interrupting you, but I was actually reading earlier on that the government were talking about emergency visas for European workers to come and work back in the airport, in the airline industry, just to get, like they did with the farming industry the other year when they were struggling for strawberry pickers and things like that. So they were talking about doing the same thing. So I think us leaving Europe has had a massive impact on the jobs market, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I think also, I don't know if someone's sort of touched on it, but not just laziness, but say Tom or whatever, your work said to you, "Oh, sorry, mate, like this has happened. We're gonna have to lay you off."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Bloody
just say, well, both of you, but Tom, for example, if your work said to you when all this started, right, mate, we're gonna have to stick you on this amount of money for this amount of time, and then it became 2 years, didn't it, give or take? At some point, if someone said to you, "Oh, here, Tom, come and work for me, is X amount," and it was more or better than what you were on, why would you hang around? So probably a lot of these people have disappeared into other sectors at this point.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say, go on, Tom.
To kind of take it back to like aviation sort of things and away from potential politics and stuff. Do you think it's a case of people being so used to having domestic holidays that now that it's so open to have European holidays, that airports just aren't able to cope with it because of all the people that they've laid off?
That's exactly the problem, and they just can't get the staff to come back to them. And I think a lot of it is it's like any big company you work for. I mean, the company I work for is exactly the same. They just want that extra pound of flesh out of you. They're blaming energy costs, and well, they're having to raise the prices, so people are leaving our business. People aren't using our company as much as what they were doing because we're quite expensive compared to some other businesses. So we're having to work that little bit harder to sort of cover, the losses what the company's making, sort of thing. So we're not getting paid any extra, but they want that little bit extra work out of us. And that's what the other guy was saying about going the extra mile, which you don't mind doing that. But then it gets to the point where you're thinking, hang on a minute, they're getting this extra pound of flesh out of me. They are making vast amounts of profit, like these airports, and they are still making vast amounts of profit, and that goes without saying. But they're sort of reluctant to taking staff on because the profit margins aren't going to be the same. And that was something else I found out as well, that a lot of these fuel companies like your British BP and Shell and all the rest of it, over the last couple of years, they have every business has a projected profit margin each year, whether it's 5 or 10% or whatever, and then next year they're not happy with that 5 or 10%, so it goes up to 12%. Well, the last couple of years they haven't made these profit margins. So what they've done now, instead of making 10% during the pandemic, they've made 5%. So they're 5% short on that profit margin. So this year they don't want to make 12% profit; they want to make 17% profit. So they want to claw all this money back, what they lost during the pandemic. And I think one way of doing that is not recruiting staff, and it's just trying to get people to work harder. And the problem is, likes of TUI, they're suffering it now. They're quite happy, absolutely raking the money in off the customers. But when it comes to actually delivering a product, they can't do it. But they're not bothered because they've got people's money anyway. You know what I mean? So their projected profits are exactly where they want them to be. And the fact that they haven't got any staff is oh, well, never mind. We've still got the money. And I think a lot of it is just bad, bad management, bad customer services. It's a lot of things. But I just think sometimes it's the greedy profiteers and perhaps the shareholders who aren't getting the dividends and things like that who are causing these problems.
Yeah.
I think another part of the problem now, I can only speak to airports I've been to recently, but you think Gatwick and Heathrow have both shut a terminal during this, and the passenger numbers are creeping up. They're probably, 80%, 75% of what they were, but you're expecting more people to go through less space, less custom, less everything. But you're trying to ferry these people through, and then you're wondering why delays are happening. But yeah, like Gatwick, it's down to half its operation, and like it's something has to give at some point. Like, and that's what's happening to a degree. I know it's shut because it's cost. Obviously, it's cost, but it's then backing stuff up, and it's taking a lot longer, and people are missing flights and getting frustrated and all alike. And it's like you say, everyone's desperate to coin back the percent of what they lost, and it's almost at the expense of the customer, because Gatwick don't care. Gatwick can go and do what they want, because essentially, if you miss your flight, you'll go, bloody EasyJet, like, I can't believe this has happened. Nobody ever actually goes like, Gatwick screwed me over there. They always blame the airline rather than the actual airport.
Other airports are available, of course.
Yeah.
Michael Painter touches on a good point there, where when COVID did hit and all these people did get laid off, they were trapped really bad, weren't they? And they were just like told you're not coming back and all the rest of it, and they just don't want to go back to working for a company like that, just knowing full well that it could happen again, on which I totally agree with.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think for us at least, I think you'd have thought that it would have given, knowing that the numbers were going up, it would have given them a lot of time to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people obviously wanted to go away.
Yeah.
And then obviously had the holidays cancelled because of the pandemic. And then you had to domestically go on holiday.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, right, now everyone's kind of got free reign to do what they like. And it's almost like the airlines have gone, huh? What? Or the airports are like, what's that? What's happening here?
Yeah, but the problem is that they knew this were coming, didn't they? They knew as soon as all these restrictions were lifted and things like that, that the passenger numbers would absolutely go through the roof, which they have done, and they knew it would come in. They just haven't done anything to counteract it. And I think it was I've lost it now. It's just gone. There was another comment from Darren Smith there, and he says that British Airways laid off loads of staff on the old contracts because of COVID. And when the new contracts came out, it were worse paying conditions. Them staff aren't ever going to go back, are they? And I can't really blame them, to be quite honest. So yeah.
We also point out, of course.
I just don't think it's just the airline industry. I think it's a lot of industries that's same. I think a lot of businesses are struggling to get staff back. Well, like I say, I've been out during last week, and people are asking me if I knew anybody who wanted to go work for him because they can't get staff.
Well, he's also mentioned there, do you know the worst thing about being told by British Airways your flight has been cancelled while standing in Terminal 5? He says there is no ticket or help desks anymore. You have to go online or ring them, and you are standing in their frigging terminal.
Yeah. that's something else as well, isn't it?
So it's a strange one. It's a strange one indeed. But yeah, full of interesting ideas. There's a couple of topics that we could probably dive a lot more into. As like a show itself. So we'll see what we can do with that, because I think there's a lot of things that you can have a good natter about. But we've sort of reached the hour and a half point of the show. I think we will probably start to wrap the show up. So thank you for those that have been watching it tonight so far. Don't go anywhere, because we are doing some shout outs, as we always do. So if you have anybody you want to shout out, whether it's friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, etc., do get your comments in, and we'll show them on screen whilst we do our shout outs. And we'll start with you, Steve.
Yeah, lovely. As always, Tom, Ian, it's always a privilege, and it's good fun. Nice way to end the weekend. A particular shout out to Jack. We all love you, mate. Look after yourself, and we're here for you, mate, when you need us and that. I know a couple of friends of ours watched tonight, Ed and Lucy, and we actually sent their baby to sleep. So that's probably a thank you from them, to be fair, because a sleeping baby is a good baby, that's for sure in my book. And another little shout out to my big brother. I hope you feeling better soon. He did a cracking model today, actually, of a wyvern. Is it? It was really nice, but yeah, lovely job. Just have a good week, everyone, and thanks for watching again.
Cracking. All right, Ian, over to you.
Yeah. I'd just say massive thanks to everyone who's joined in the chat tonight, expressing your opinions and things like that. Always good to see what other people have to say about what we're talking about, which is fantastic. Big up to you, Tom, Steve.
Well, it's just us and Ian. How you doing, mate? All right?
It's looking like it, right? Is this the point where we start talking about carp and pike?
Yeah, I had a cracking day's fishing. Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back. All right.
Jesus wept, honestly. I don't know what happened there.
Oh yeah, very very quickly. Sorry, actually, thank you for our mods tonight. Let's not forget them either.
No,
Yes.
definitely not. Yeah. Big shout out to Gail there, and Sam is floating around somewhere, I think, isn't he? Yeah, just a massive shout out to everyone who's been watching, and yeah, thanks for joining in tonight. It's been decent, and a big shout out to my daughter who's led on her bed. She only finished work at 6 o'clock tonight, and she's probably fast asleep now. So
yeah, she's not chirped up tonight, is she?
No, not at all. No.
By
the way, somebody did comment earlier. Somebody did ask earlier what was her favourite Airbus, and she said it was an A380 because it's, what was the word she used? Not peng, some other word.
Fire,
Fire or something like that. Yeah. So I'm not down with kids.
Love that. Love that. I will just explain what happened. I knocked my microphone by accident, and because it's lent on a little bit of wood here, so it's not stable. So the light I'm using, that's literally right there, fell, hit my keyboard, and refreshed everything.
Happy days.
That's what happened. That's where I went. So yeah, I missed the shout outs, but yeah.
But what was that film called? Final Destination. Yeah, it started off as a Final Destination story then, Tom.
You've had too much elderflower, mate. That's what's happened there.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. I'm gonna have to put that away now, I think.
Yeah,
but as Rob Brown says, one for the blooper reel. I think it's gonna have to be in
Yeah.
a particular show of some kind. But yeah. So if anyone's done any shout outs and stuff and I've missed them, I did disappear. But I am back. Right, I'll do some shout outs of my own before we wrap the show up tonight. A big thank you to everybody who's been watching. As always, you guys are what make the show pretty much what it is, with all the interaction and everything else that sort of goes with it. So, a big thank you to everybody watching. big thank you to, of course, Steve and Ian for another excellent show, which it's flown by this time, I think.
Yeah,
Completely
absolutely.
flown by.
Yeah.
So big shout out to you two. Obviously, shout out to Jack as well. We do rip into him quite a bit, but that's what you do when you're good friends with somebody, and we're all here for you. So so we're all here for you. Lastly, a couple of sort of separate shout outs that I've got. One to friend of mine, Becky, who has been amusing me all evening by taking Snapchat pictures of us with different filters and sending them to me and trying to distract me and make me laugh. So thank you to you. Thank you to you for that. I know Serena is probably watching, so shout out to you as well. She got me those. I'll explain what those are another time. So if you're watching still, thank you to you. And of course, frontline workers and key workers around the world, even if it's probably not the time to be doing it anymore, we still give them the love and respect that they deserve. So a big thank you to all of you. So next week, we'll have Jack on the show with us this time. Well, hopefully we will. Then we've got a very, very interesting show after that, but you won't know about that until the following week, which we're very excited for. We've got an interesting couple of weeks coming up after next week with some very, very special and very big guests coming on as well. So we're very much looking forward to that and exciting times for the podcast. So Michael Painter is leaving us. He says, good night, all got to go now, starting work at silly o'clock in the morn.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for joining.
So thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a quick question, Ian, from MacJet TV Live, asking, is that your model BA787 on the shelf by your not working clock?
My clock is working. It says 9:10. You're looking at it, it's back to front. That's why. Yeah, it's because of the way the camera's rotated. But no, the clock does work. Yeah, I don't look at it anyway. I use my phone as a clock. Yeah, and that is that's my Dreamliner there. That's my 787. Needs dusting.
Beautiful.
Dust them models then.
Hey?
Dust them models, mate.
Dusting, yeah. And I've got me. These are all models I made myself, by the way, as well. I've got my little Spitfire here, which I made myself as well. Well, I might as well go through lots of them while we're here.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, look.
My little Typhoon, what I built as well.
Gina, lovely.
Do you know what? Yeah. And there's my little F-35B as well. We were talking about them earlier on, weren't we? So, yeah, there's my little F-35.
Nice.
And that's my Fuji Dreams Airlines. If you've not looked at Fuji Dreams Airlines, just Google them up, man. The planes are absolutely beautiful, all of them. I'm leaving it at that. And they're my fishing trophies because I'm really good at fishing.
All right, Steve, you might as well just show off your model collection.
Well, this is Katie. I tell you what, you're never going to get to see it, but Ian put the most perfect photo together earlier on with myself and Holly Willoughby. It was absolutely amazing. If you've got me on Instagram, I'll drop me a message and I'll send it to you individually. But yeah, it was a thing of beauty. So thanks for that. But my only models are the wrong side of me. I only buy generally what I fly on. So I've got like a few sort of EasyJet, Ryanair, A380, and I've also got a Typhoon. I've not flown on it, but I do have one.
Brilliant. I'll just
I've got no subscribers, mate. That's the problem.
Yeah. Let me bring myself up on the screen here.
Somebody were asking me where the Nicola Sturgeon picture was this evening as well, and it's gone back in my bedroom. That Welshie Kev.
Yeah, you're disappointing him. I'll quickly show off I bought 4 models during the week, but this is one of my favourites, which is the Beluga.
Oh, fantastic!
Oh, lovely, yeah.
Wonderful company, NG Models. If you want to buy the Beluga and stuff, or just any of the NG model planes themselves, do it, because I think there's very quickly becoming my favourite model manufacturer.
Yeah.
And of course, the other one I've got as well, one of my not so favourite ones, but still one of my favourite models, is the Eco Demonstrator.
There you go, lovely that.
Yeah, from Phoenix. Phoenix models, like I said, we'll probably do a show on all these different companies and stuff, but very quickly, Phoenix models are not my most particular favourite because I don't think they do certain models correctly, like the 747s and stuff. Not great at all. But
Still got them.
still got those. And Rob Brown giving a late
Really?
shout out to the WWF and Panda Welfare.
Oh yeah.
Anybody
go
who
on,
doesn't
Hulk
quite
Hogan.
know about what that's all about, Ian wasn't a huge fan of the Panda
No.
liveries, so
There's a Mark 1 Lightning.
yeah. I'll give one more little shout to one of my more colourful ones, which of course is the
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. There you go. A380. I know Gail's a big fan of the A380, so I thought I'd show that as well.
Yeah, and rightly so. Well done.
Beautiful. All right, lovely job. Right, all that's left for us to do is say goodbye now. Otherwise, we'll keep you here for the entire evening showing off our models. We might do that another time. So we'll start with Ian, if you'd like to say goodbye to everybody.
Yep, goodbye, everybody. See you all next week.
Cracking, nice and short. Lovely job.
Yep.
Steve, in the most Steve way possible, if you'd like to say goodbye to those that are watching.
Yeah, see you later then.
Do it properly.
Right. Cheerio, my lovelies. Stay safe, stay sexy, and until next time, have a good week. Enjoy your barbecues and the like, because it's going to be sunny this week. All right, look after yourselves. Cheerio now.
Yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to the hot weather. But yes, thank you so much for watching for episode 65. Next week, episode 66, we'll have Jack Rolls with us this time. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. Have a fantastic week. And we'll see you next Sunday, 7:30 p.m. for more fun and games and wonderful shenanigans. Take care, everybody. See you next week. Bye.